Hi everyone, and welcome to my interpretation of RPG A Day 2021, wherein I talk or give a few thoughts about a prompt word on this calendar that we have to use, developed by the people who, for the 8th year, have done this project. Originally I intended it to be like one take, but things are malleable. I've added recaps, I've added callbacks, so here we go.
Alright, Cole, just calling in. I heard you mention Cthulhu Dark, and you wasn't familiar with it. I tell you what, it's a super useful little game to have in your arsenal. Very simple, and I've in fact played it with Scott Dorwood, who we were talking about the other day. It was at a convention, my local convention, Concrete Cow, and he was using it to play test something that he was writing, and I didn't sort of know him well enough at the time to cross-examine him about it, but I guess it was easier to use that than get into generating Call of Cthulhu characters, and it really suits that convention play. If you're interested, I can give you some more details, or I'm sure you could find out a little bit more yourself. Ray Otis actually did a version of it, made it look quite nice. Take care, I'll catch you later.
Hey Colin, yeah, I have played other games that use have Call of Cthulhu that aren't Call of Cthulhu. I played Eldritch Tales by Joe Salvatore, and I did download the Cthulhu Dark, but I don't get it. Maybe it's just too simple for me, or I would have a hard time. I guess I'd have to play it. It seems like you have dice, and then the dice go away after a while if you roll a certain number. More like a resource dice. I don't know, it's odd to me. It's very freeform, and I guess I'm not good at freeform. I don't know. Something about the way I'm wired. Who knows? Thank you for the call-in and the recommendations. I will try to figure it out. Today's prompt word is translate, and I guess that's one of the key themes and elements in this year's RPG A Day 2021, is how do you translate these prompt words into giving you all something interesting to listen to. So today, and what I've learned to do, is incorporate my gameplay recaps into the prompt word. So today, I'm going to discuss our Deadlands game from the Sunday group, and maybe you'll see how translate comes in. So we pick up where we left off with the group. They were escaping elements of the U.S. cavalry, so I decided to have a chase scene, and you lay out cards, and the cards are, if you fail a maneuver roll on the cards, and you look on the table and you figure out, actually you translate the results. That is sort of a byproduct of what I want to get at with translate, but you translate the results into something that could happen to the players. On their action cards, you draw for them, and the suit of the card determines a modifier or not as they roll for their maneuver dice, which is how they move. They can move for free or move as an action, and I thought it was a good decision by the players to have someone a wild card, one of the players, take the reins of the carriage, stagecoach, and drive. And this player basically focused on driving and moving. So he got the +2 on the maneuver as his action, and made a lot of headway against the opposition. Another of the players was on the stagecoach and was firing back at who they felt was their enemy. In the last session, they had taken out a Herod who was Colonel Benteen, who had allegedly, according to the reports at the time, left Custer hanging, and these devil bulls were coming into town to reckon with the Bentine. So the players decided to take Bentine out, so the Diablos would go away, and that's what happened. But now after they blew up the Harrowed and part of the fort near Laramie in Wyoming territory, they were being chased by the cavalry. There was a squad of cavalry, some 12 to 14 men, and they fled. And I'm sure the results will get back to them. Like I said, one was on the roof shooting at them, and then another player was an outrider and dropped back to confront them. There was they did get away, but they didn't get away just because they got away. They got away through some overwhelming force. They took out all 12 of these people, despite being harassed and harangued, and they got the jump on them most rounds and took some bold and brave action and were successful in taking all these people out. They left no survivors. So that, like I said, will probably come back to haunt them, but we'll see. They collected the gear, they left the bodies where they lay, and moved on. So this kind of brings us to the second phase of the game. I had gotten this project that my wife bought called Ghost Towns, which is from the older edition of Deadlands Reloaded, but the conversion to Suede is not hard. So I had rolled a random encounter, and it happened to be these creatures called devil bats that swoop down, and they did not have a problem with them. They could have if one had been hit or attacked, but I was just not rolling well for these creatures. But that brought us to, okay, they're not going to make it to where I wanted them to go, so let me roll on the strange locale generator and see what they're coming up to. In the back of my mind, how do I incorporate these devil bats? So that's what Translate is going to be all about today. How I translate the tags that I'm giving based on the cards that I draw to determine the strange locale that they are coming upon that we'll have adventure at. So I drew initially, and it's actually kind of a fun exercise, and I've done this before with products by Kevin Crawford, such as Red Tide and others. Other Dust is another one, where you have these tags associated with the die roll that you make, and then you have to translate that into something meaningful in the course of the adventure. I did that a lot with his rules using in the Broken Lands, where I would generate towns and villages in this verse and use those tags to determine what the hell was going on there. And I had everything from orcs who were harvesting lumber in the area to a group of Duergar who had, or was it Darrow? I think it was Darrow who had allied with orcs in another town, but were converting them all to their cult of some great old one. And and they were abducting orcs nearby. So it's fun to figure what these little tags mean, what does corrupt mean? What does mad god mean? And how do you translate that into something for your game? So the first card I drew was Hearts. It's pretty easy. Step 1 is a community phase in this generator. It's medium, so it's a typical Western town with a main street, about 400 people. I think on the back of my head, I figured out the name of this. They're passing through the mountains between Laramie and Headston in Wyoming territory. So it's a mining town in the mountains called Last Chance. The next card I drew showed, hey, it works because commerce was the main goal of the town. So that gave me the prompt for, hey, it's making a mining town. The next card I drew was a 3 of clubs, so they don't like strangers around here. There's something that they don't want to drive strangers away or use the strangers for something. kind of nice. How does that tie into the Devil Bats, do you say? The next card I drew was a 4 of spades, and that indicated wilderness. Well, that worked out because they were out in the middle of nowhere. And then I thought it got kind of cool because I drew a 10 of clubs next. So the next prompt would be something wicked, something weird. And that was terrifying fearmonger. So this place is being harassed, and that makes sense. It's being harassed by the devil bats, but why? Why is it being harassed? I drew a 8 of diamonds next, which indicated a monster. Works perfect for what I've already set up, right? And then finally, for this last card, I drew an ace of diamonds, and that indicated curse. So I came up with that this town had been placed under a curse by something that they did. They wanted to use the players to help with that curse in a nefarious way at first. And these devil bats were involved. So pretty cool, I think, and how that worked out. And then that they would use the excuse of justice, which is what I drew next. A jack of clubs to round up the characters and then take them to, or use them to end the curse or maintain the curse or make it so that the curse was not affecting the people of the town. So I decided they were under a curse. These devil bats had been summoned because they betrayed a delegation. They're on the edge of the disputed territories near the Lakota Nation, and a delegation of Lakota wanted to come there and mine. The people in the town didn't like that. They rounded them up and lynched them. So one of the delegation was apparently a medicine man and put a curse on the town so that these devil bats would come. And what they would do is every day they would come down and take 3 people and drop them from a big height over the crest of the mountain. None of the townsfolk wanted to go see what was there at the bottom of that drop. They had fought with these creatures, and then it had gotten worse over time, that the creatures kept, well, when they didn't get their 3, then the next day it was more than that, usually double. So that's what the characters walked into. And of course, the townsfolk were all upset because they had killed, and they just, by this time, some 10 or so days plus of this curse acting, the townsfolk were just cowed and would just draw lots and see who would stand out there and get picked up by these creatures. So when the characters come with 3 of these dead devil bats, the townsfolk are all riled up. They're somewhat afraid. They try to intimidate the characters. It does not work. The characters finally calm them down and persuade them at the point of a rifle or a gun and with some good speech that they're here to help. And that's where we stopped. They got the full story. The players are going to go help. Maybe. We'll see what happens next time. But that's just an example, I think, of how to translate sometimes obscure tags or clues into an overall location or a story for your game. So I hope that works. I got to put in a recap, which is what I'm trying to do, incorporate recaps for the games I run into this RPG A Day 2021. And there you go, the prompt word, translate.